Welcome back to the that talks too much. I mean, I can't say that. What? No one told me.
Hello, hey howdy, how's it going, everybody? I am back yet again, talking about what I've watched this week, what I've consumed, what the media is that has really been getting me going this past week. First up is a movie that I didn't know existed until a couple weeks ago. I saw it on a list of underrated horror movies, yada yada. Movies directed by Wes Craven of Nightmare on Elm Street fame. It's called The People Under the Stairs. Going into it, I expected a social commentary angle. I didn't really know how direct it would be. I thought it was going to be a lot more metaphorical, a lot more loose with the concepts, and just kind of playing on the ideas of racism and wealth inequality and landlords and all that stuff. Turns out, it's a lot more on the nose than that. Movie stars a young black kid who grows up in a major city, living in housing owned by landlords who own everything in the block. Right? He gets roped into a heist to steal the money back from them to help his family pay for rent and be able to go anywhere else. Right? It's pretty straightforward. Once you get into it, though, it gets pretty wild, pretty fast. There were a lot of, huh? The fuck? Why is this, huh? Spoilers, by the way. Turns out that the landlords are actually running a kind of underground child rearing factory, theoretically, in the attempt to create an heir that will follow them and live up to their ideals. And those ideals are make money, pretty much, and do everything they ever say. So there's a repeated motif of the classic, do no evil, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil, hear no evil, all of those, right? And so they have a daughter who the main kid kind of bonds with as he's exploring the house. It turns into this cat and mouse chasing him up and down and all around the house and trying to get him out of here. Well, get him dead, mostly. Out is not really an option because he's trying to do that and can't. Eventually we find out that there is a basement full of people been either kidnapped off the streets, punished for breaking into the house, or some other combination thereof. Male heirs they claimed off of the streets to take over once they're done, right? And the idea is that then whoever they raise well to their standards will then marry their biological daughter and continue the family line, right? There's a lot of just kind of what the fuck moments. Things continue to escalate and escalate and escalate. And then it feels like... So the only real complaint I have with it is that it feels like it wanted to end about 4 different times. As it was getting towards the end, it kept okay, there's a conclusion. But wait, there's another conclusion. But wait, what if there's another conclusion? And so it just felt dragged out a little bit. But each different conclusion point only finished part of the stories, right? And so I'm glad that it went as long as it did to kind of wrap everything up. And we eventually get to see both of the landlord people, the husband and wife, who are also brother and sister, probably in a similar situation to how they're running things now, where one is technically not biological, but brother sister. Anyway, so that was a really good time, surprisingly good. I have seen the first Nightmare on Elm Street movie, and I did enjoy it, but it wasn't groundbreaking to me, right? Obviously it's a very important installment in slashers as a genre and all that, but I don't think it had a lot of staying power in my brain. But this one was really fucked up. And I think that will likely keep it in my head longer. The copy of the DVD that we got had a review on the back that said Wes Craven's most satisfying film. And by the end, you get to see the bad guys die and everybody else that isn't a bad guy escape and make it off to a life outside of the constriction of both the extremely stringent patriarchal laws of the house as well as actual captivity, right? As well as getting to see the black characters and the as residents of an inner city in poor conditions being abused by landlords, they are able to take back the wealth that the landlords have been hoarding and theoretically use it at their own discretion. But yeah, that was the big one. We also watched Pirates Band of Misfits, classic claymation animated movie. It's one of my favorite family movies, just generally. Both it and Kubo the Two Strings that I watched last week are just kind of top tier family animated features to me, just because of how like fun and goofy, and Kubo mostly because of how like, while pretty beat for beat and like not terribly sneaky, the movie is just really good and tells a good story and has a lot of really cool elements that all coalesce into a fantastic final product, right? What I had forgotten about was within Pirates was the amount of like animated map sequences. I think like the old Indiana Jones movies, the kind of dotted lines across the map, but they did a lot of really fun little snippets of bits with those, because they travel back and forth across the sea several times. And yeah, it's a great time overall. Yeah, can recommend. If it's one of my favorite animated features, it's probably worth recommending for me. And then the other thing that I've really been into this week is DC's Young Animal Doom Patrol run, written by Gerard Way, and kind of kicked off that imprint. I'm not super familiar with what else Young Animal does, but I recently read the Grant Morrison run of Doom Patrol, and I've watched some of the show on HBO, or Max now. It's really cool to see new characters, for one, new faces, new whatevers. Here we get to follow a character that I was completely unfamiliar with, and I may have been created to join this, but regardless, Space Casey, I forget her last name. But it's been really fun to follow that and see a narrative that is like built around Danny the Street. And it's really interesting. So I've read the first 6 issues now. And the narrative being built around Danny as a like vehicle, an ambulance, directly in the story is really interesting. I'm happy to see Danny take a like really impactful role in the story rather than just like a one-off place they visit and hang out with for a little bit. But yeah, that's been about it. Anime-wise, I watched the first episode of Spriggan. So Spriggan is like a sci-fi-ish twist on like an Indiana Jones concept, dealing with like ancient artifacts and mysterious organizations that want to steal them. It's interesting. The CGI is, as always, not the best, but it's a good time. The episodes are longer than most anime, so they run about 45 minutes. So it's a little bit more of a time commitment at a time, but it definitely kept me engaged the whole time. And that's not super common for a random anime I haven't heard of, like anyone talk about, you know? But yeah, that's kind of what I've been up to this week. I'll see you next time. I don't know, dude. I don't know how to end anything. Yeah, that's all I got. We'll see if there's anything else out this week, or if I watch anything else. What if I just never watch anything again, and you never know this is the only time? What if? Anyway, toodles.
Subscribe.
subscribe. Or your soul is joining my collection.